Hey guys, welcome to the Our Show. I'm Li Ying. We're still waiting out COVID-19. On this episode, we continue to talk to people about how they've been coping with this pandemic and how their lives have been affected. Today, we're thrilled to have Ron Josol joining us from LA.
Hey
And
guys,
hey
having me.
guys, yes. If you follow stand-up comedy, you will know that Ron is a stand-up comedian and he's also an actor. He's been featured on the show Video on Trial, which he also like wrote for that, right? I guess.
Oh yeah.
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 So that was some time ago, right?
Yeah, that was like a while ago. But it's
Yeah.
still a credit. It's still a credit. Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us on our tiny little thing. And our goal is to make a record or documentation of people's life during this particular time. So Ron, what's life like in LA these days?
So normally I would be out every night, at least 6 nights a week, going to stand up. So my life would be 2 weeks in LA, and then 2 weeks I'd go on the road, where I would go to any state and different countries, and then 3 months of the year I'd be touring overseas. So for 3 months I would be in Europe, then Asia, the Middle East, and then the Caribbean, and then Scandinavia. So I would tour India, and then I would come back for 9 months, and I would do 2 weeks in LA and then 2 weeks on the road. So now there's nothing, right? So I started comedy 23 years ago, and I've never missed 1 week in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, I was doing at least, my first 10 years I would do maybe 2 shows a night. So I would do 60 shows a month, and that's for 10 years straight. And then I would do now, and then because I was working so much, I wouldn't go out to do stand up Monday, Tuesday, but the rest of the week I would go do that. So now it's a good break first. It's believe it or not, I needed this to just, because when you're on the road every week, you don't have a chance to write new material or think about stuff that really affects you. You think about your act, that some stuff you talk about, it affects you, but some stuff is old already. It doesn't affect you anymore, right? So it's a good pause of life, and it's a good way of me to reintroduce what I want to talk about, if stand-up ever comes back. But so far, the stand-up I do is online. So maybe once or twice or 3 times a week, I'll do a comedy show online, because that's all we do now, right? So the transition from going 100% traveling to not doing anything is kind of weird. And I live by myself, so comics usually are always by themselves when they're on the road, so it's not a big deal, And I do see my cousin, who's not that far from me, and she doesn't go out, so I get the groceries for her, and so she doesn't really, go out. She just stays home with her son and her husband. So I go see her maybe once a week, and then a friend of mine, Justin, that Rivera, he's a comedy magician who's played the Crack House too. He is a close friend of mine. So we've been on tour for the last month before the pandemic. And so he doesn't go out. I don't really go out. The only people he sees is me, and that's it. And the only people my cousin sees is me. So that's kind of my social life, Now Canada and US, I work for both. Canada will give you $2,000 a month until the pandemic's over. Right. So what you do is you just call it. You have to be Canadian, and you have to have a social security number. And you just dial. This is how fast it is. You go on the phone, you dial the 1-800 number. It says, please put your social security number in. You punch it in, and then it says you'll receive $2,000 on this day of March and then this day of April. If you want, please call back after April to get the next two payments. So fast. It's not even, it's 1 minute.
Wow.
Because with because when you put your social security number in, the computer checks if you've been paying your taxes and how long you've been paying your taxes and how much you make. So all the information's there. So they know the certain people that haven't paid their taxes for 5 years. Actually, you can still get the money if you haven't paid taxes for 5 years. But if you haven't paid for taxes longer than that, you wouldn't. Now, America, everybody's supposed to get a $1,200 check. Nobody's got it yet. Maybe a couple people I know, and a lot of businesses, small businesses, are supposed to be getting money as well. And even my cousin, she hasn't got anything as well. So it's harder to live here if I wasn't Canadian.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but because I'm Canadian, they're taking care of me even though I'm here. I live here, but they still give me the money.
You mean the Canadian government?
Yeah, as long as I'm a Canadian citizen and I still work there and I make over $5,000 a year there, they will give me $2,000 a month. So it's not that bad. So financially, I'm not making the money I'm supposed to be making, but I have enough savings that could last me a while. Plus, I'm getting $2,000 from the government here in Canada. And so I'm okay. But, will stand-up comedy ever be the same as before? I don't think so. I think it's changed forever. I think people the comedians, there's two types of comedians and there's two types of clubs. Two types of comedians: a famous comedian that can sell out every night, 10,000 people that come to see them in the weekend. And then there's comics that are not famous that play the comedy clubs that are smaller, that's 200 people max. Now, the big star comics, Russell Peters, Kevin Hart, blah, 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 they're playing the big comedy clubs that sit 800 people a night. That's how many seats there are in the big comedy clubs, 800 to 1,000. It's a theater almost.
Yeah.
I can't do that because I don't have a fan following that big. But now, with social distancing and people don't want to get sick, to reintroduce the venues to people to go to, I don't think that they want to go to something that's that big anymore. Maybe 100 people max. That has every table has a 6-foot space. The comedy clubs, maybe you have to wear a mask now. You have to check your temperature until we have the antibody, right? And even then, do you still want, there could be a different strain at the time. So you don't know. What I do know is I wouldn't go to any concert right now in the next year or so, even until they have the antibody, right? And and the people that do want to go to those places and do want to go to, in Los Angeles right now, the southern part of Los Angeles called Orange County, they reopened the beaches. So people are on the beach, but they have to go check their temperature to enter, right? But we're gonna see in the next 2 weeks what's gonna happen, if it's gonna spike again, or if it's just gonna maintain or go lower or even go up a bit. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. So we can't tell what's gonna happen with people really practicing social distancing now that the certain cities are open. I think that when you go to a grocery store, you have that's essential to buy groceries. It's no different than going to a clothing store. It's no different than going to a restaurant. You can still catch the virus all three places, right? But you're risking your life in general just to get food. So what the difference is You don't have to risk your life to go to the beach, but you don't have to go to the beach. It's not part of, it's not essential, but it kind of, you know what? Humans need to be talking to each other. We have to be out. It's hard to stay indoors. It is really hard. And some people in America and overseas want to risk dying so they get that freedom still. You know, they said, hey, let me die then. I just want to be able to make money and I want to be able to go out. Maybe that's 25 to 35% of the population. I don't know. But I know when they reopened the city in I think in Georgia or Atlanta, they said not all the there was not a lot of people outside. They still were scared. You know, but so who knows what's going to happen with comedy? Maybe the new big thing is comedy at home. Maybe the new big thing will be, you know, you put on a virtual reality mask or the visor, and you can go to different comedy clubs online virtually, where you could see all the faces. Because my nephew has a virtual he has a VR. I put it on. If you want to watch a movie, it makes you feel like you're in a movie theater, right? So you could watch. How is that any different for the comedy if you wanted to do that? You know, so maybe with that kind of technology in the future, that could be the new thing. If these viruses are constantly evolving, we may have to do that. You know, maybe going out is not it will never be as safe as it used to be. Nobody knows. I mean, you can only speculate. You can only evolve or die, really, right now. You know, so I choose to evolve, and some people don't want to evolve and go out and pretend this is not happening, and let them. But people should wear ribbons to say, hey, I'm a social distancer and I'm not a social distancer. So at least you see the people that don't believe in it. So you can actually stay further from them because they're the ones contaminating us. That's not a solution. It's just an idea. Because, you know, we can't stop people from wanting to not listen to the government, not listening to what is safe. We can't. They could drink Drano if they want to. We can't stop anybody from doing what they want to do unless it's martial law or they do something where they'll fine you. Even then, people will still go out. It's a time where I don't mind if you want to risk your own life, but when you risk your own life, you're also risking my life. So at least let me know who these people are so I could really see really further from them. Because those are the people that will be endangering other people. But we don't have that. So it's just going to be, I mean, I like change. If I was a animal, I'd be a cockroach because I could really just evolve and do anything. Nothing really bothers me, you know? I think my life in general, outside of comedy, like, you know, my family situation growing up was really hard. So this doesn't bother me, you know? Yeah, like a lot of people, if they were to do what I had to do growing up, because my mom, our family got into a car accident when I was 6 years old. So my mom became a paraplegic. So I took care of my mom from 6 all the way till she died, which is 5 years ago. And that was really hard. It took a lot from me. I would fly around the world and come back to my parents' house 1 week a month just to see her, take care of her. And I cooked for her. I cleaned her since I was 6. So a lot of my childhood was taken away. A lot of, I was given too much responsibility at a young age, you know, and then if my dad got sick, then I would have to play my dad's role at a very young age. So going through that, and I would never change it. I don't regret anything I did, but this is not as hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm really not affected by it I'm affected by it, I would say 10 to 15%. Nobody that wants to be locked in your home.
Mm-hmm.
You get cabin fever, you get delirious, you start talking to yourself. You need social distancing is a bad thing for the soul, but to counter it, you have to do these things. You have to talk in podcasts. You have to talk with your friends and your family. So this is our only way to balance out I guess, I guess the, the loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
that was a long answer for your first question, but that's what it is.
That's great. Okay, that's great. So since you're doing comedy online now, and then do you feel that you're like mentally traveling since like your
Yes,
audience probably? Uh-huh.
that's a great way to put it, because when I do my shows in my house,
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer in my house.
Yeah.
Until the show is over, I transport my mind back here. Wow, that's a great. Did you just make that up now, or you had this? You had this this term
No,
before?
no, just
Yeah,
now.
yeah, because we're mentally traveling. We can't travel physically, so we're mentally traveling for sure. It's
Yeah.
almost we have to use our imagination more. We have to use our ears more. We have to use our eyes more. You can't be talking too much. You have to concentrate more to have fun now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not only us. Where we have, because the comedian has to make sure the lighting's good, the sound is good, but the audience has to make sure they're listening more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the show ends because like if you like perform in a physical place, afterwards you stay around, you interact with people. But like if you're doing this digitally, I mean, when the show is over, like do they leave the room like right away, or they also stay around
Well,
and then chat with you?
the shows I do, uh,
Uh-huh.
after the show, the comedians, 5 to 10 comedians, usually say, okay, after we're gonna all join again and talk about the show.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it feels like the show's done and we're in a lounge somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, so we talk about, oh, that joke was good. You should have done this, blah 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 blah. So it kind of
Mm-hmm.
feels like you're still hanging out.
All right. So like during this period of time, we saw a lot of like racism, ignorance, and stuff surfing, everywhere. Um, will this be source of your material?
For sure. I mean, this is something that I've already included in my new act.
Mm-hmm.
One thing is, um, it's not even what calling it the China virus
Mm-hmm.
is giving more reason for racist people that don't like Asians to act on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there'll be always racism. We can't stop that. But they don't act on it as much as they used to. But
Mm-hmm.
by giving them a reason, they're now acting upon that. And so it's going to be hard for a lot of Asian people, especially Chinese, because Chinese restaurants will probably
Oh,
go down. Not a lot. The stereotype has now changed. Stereotypes always change. But black stereotypes have changed since Obama.
oh yeah.
Asians are now changed because of this. So we can't help it as a society, as people, to be scared.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of racism comes from fear and not knowing, and a lot of ignorance. And unless we educate, you can't really beat or fix the problem. You have to educate.
Over.
And
All
so
right.
that should be a really big part of everybody's act that wants to, first of all, stop more racism. And if you're Asian, it's almost your duty to at least take care of the rest of the Asian community in that way.
Mm-hmm. All right. But the thing is, like, for people who watch a stand-up comedy, they're sort of already kind of, people who are, in certain way, I mean, they're probably are like a more open to, things like that once they walk into walk into like a comedy show. But there are a lot of people, who are not like this. So it's kind of hard to reach these people, isn't it?
Well, it all depends on where you are in the world.
Oh, I see.
Because the I would say the bigger population cities like LA, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, stand-up comedy is for everybody. It's not just for people it's for people that love comedy. It's for people that are fans of comedy, that know so much about all the comedians. It's for people that don't know anything about comedy. It is our pastime. It's a North America pastime since the 30s. So you get people that just go there for their birthday. You have people that go there because they're getting married. You have people that are going there because they got free tickets. You got people that are, so many percenters not fans of stand-up comedy, the art form. What I've noticed is when in Malaysia and Singapore, the people that go to the shows are fans and they're
Okay.
students of stand-up comedy. They're not, they appreciate it a lot more because
Mm-hmm.
it's rare and it's new and it's something that um, that is a subculture almost, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's for people that have money, uh, especially in the Philippines. If you want to go to a good comedy show, that it's people doing actual stand-up comedy as an art form, not just being funny on stage and singing and dancing and doing funny things and sketch comedy for stand-up comedy art form. It is for a richer first-class audience because the audience that can't afford it probably couldn't speak English very well or understand the sense of humor. So, but
Mm-hmm.
here in North America, it's totally different. Everybody goes to stand-up comedy. It's just part of their culture.
I see.
It's no different from going to the movies,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's a big difference. There's the percentage in that crowd is also drastically different. Some people are fans, some people are not fans, some people are just going because there's nothing else to do. It's not like Singapore or Malaysia or Philippines where the people that go love stand-up comedy. It's a totally different thing. Some people go and they're not even there to have a good time. They're just there because there's nothing else to do.
Oh, I see.
There's some people
Yeah.
that you could see them sleeping in the audience because stand-up comedy is it's not new. It's something that's been around since the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really, oh my God, let's go to a stand-up. You know, I did a tour, the tour I did last year. I also had to go to Sri Lanka, and
Mm-hmm.
and I went to where's that place? I went to India, Sri Lanka, and also Pakistan. And in
Oh.
Pakistan, stand-up comedy is so brand new, 2 years old. Umar brought it there.
Mm-hmm.
People dress up. They
Yeah.
there's a red carpet.
Yeah.
The press comes out. There's cameras. There's people. The news comes out. You're on a commercial with McDonald's. So it's such a new big thing for them that that's your night. At the end of the night, you go home. You don't go do anything else because that was the biggest thing that you could do there.
Mm-hmm.
Where in North America, it's your warm up to something else.
Mm-hmm. I
It's
see.
not, yeah, but if you want to see Chris Rock, yeah, it's a different, you dress up. But comedy clubs, it's not respected the same way.
Mm-hmm.
In
Right.
fact, it's so
And
not respected that's why there's so many amateur comics, because everybody thinks they can do it.
I
Yeah.
see. So that as a comedian, when you're performing in these places, how do you feel? Like in Pakistan,
I
in
love
the
it.
Philippines?
I love it.
Uh-huh.
'Cause the challenge is to see if your humor and your point of view can be accepted with people that are not from your culture
Mhm.
and the people from not your point of view. To make them laugh, it's like this. The more you say you perform in Singapore, and then you perform Malaysia, then you perform in Philippines and India and Cambodia and Myanmar and Japan and China and Hong Kong, you're gonna, and that act, you have to learn how to translate English to English.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody can speak English that go to the comedy club, but everybody has a different way of thinking.
Mm.
Even this English. Here's the best example I could come up with is, imagine you're laughing with your friends.
Mhm.
You have a good time and you're at your house. Maybe there's 5 of your friends, you're laughing, they're all the same age as you. And then your grandmother walks in and says, "What are you guys laughing about?" And then you're like, oh, nothing. And she's like, "Don't tell me." Are you gonna tell your grandma the same way you told your friends the joke?
Mhm.
You have to change the English to English,
Mhm.
young English to old English, you know, white English to black English,
Mm.
Asian English, you know, to red English. You have to always change your act. There's people that don't believe that. They go, "No, I just do what I do." Okay, well, you'll be the best local comic. You're not gonna be able to perform anywhere else then. And in comedy, traveling is really the way you make money, unless you stay
Mhm.
in a city and become an actor or become a writer or have a big podcast, right? But
Mhm.
really, you can't make money in one city in comedy if you don't have a following in any of those examples.
Mhm. All right. Um, do you find any jokes about the virus that is not appropriate?
Um, yeah. What I don't like is it goes back to the Asian thing or the Chinese thing. You know,
Mhm.
people are now joking around saying, "Well, I don't want to date a Chinese person because I might get the virus." You know what?
Mhm.
Everybody can get the virus.
Okay.
You know, and to me that's ignorant.
Mhm.
To me that's racist. To me that is something that people starting to believe because it's like the opposite of marketing.
Mhm.
It's marketing in a bad way. You know, stereotypes market people's races and cultures in a negative way. You know, and so this is what's happening with this virus. This virus is now being owned. It's like, oh, the owner of this virus is Chinese. You know, so it's inappropriate.
Mhm.
You know, and even with other Asians are now like, "Hey, I'm Korean. I'm not
Mhm.
fucking Chinese." That's racist
Oh.
to China to that's still racist to fucking, you know, different Asian backgrounds.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of that's the most right now. You know, that people are joking around that way. It's not Chinese men have a hard Asian men have a hard time in general when it
Mm.
comes to dating outside of your race. When it comes
Mm.
to getting on TV, when it comes to sports, we already have a hard time. It's
Mm.
making it harder. You know,
Wow.
this world needs more Bruce Lees. You know, there was Bruce Lee changed it, and since then, I don't I don't know if there was another version of him that made Asians look that cool. Honestly, I don't know any other Asian actor, entertainer that made a bigger impact than Bruce Lee when it came to respect and of Asians.
Mm.
As an entertainer, I would say.
All right. I have another question. So now you're doing like a comedy online, and then like, do you feel the interaction with the audience is different?
Well, here's the problem with this. We have to mute them all because the shows I'm doing is 200 to 300 people. If you don't mute them, you can't hear nothing.
Uh-huh.
Remember, everybody's at their home, so you could have a baby crying, a dog barking, cooking, TV. If you don't mute them, you will lose. The whole show can't be understood anymore. There's too many interruptions, too many sounds. Imagine 200 different sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to mute them all. So you just have to talk, and the other comedians are your audience, and that's not a good judge for a joke. So sometimes you have to just hope it's funny, and it's funny in your head. If you've done it long enough, if you believe it's funny, I tell this to everybody that says, "Hey, how do I do these jokes online if I don't hear any audience reaction and no laughter?" I said, just believe in it, because at least when there's no laughter. So when you do a show and there's no laughter in a comedy club,
Mm-hmm.
your body goes, "Oh my God, this sucks. This is terrible." This time, you don't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So just believe in every one of these jokes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way to do it. There's no audience reaction. So what can you do? Unless you only have 12 people, I mean, that, but that's more, it's not the same as 200. So you kind of have to trick your own self.
Yeah. You don't get to see their facial expression at all, because probably it's like too far away from one of them, or
Yeah, like, I mean, you can, but they're like tiny, right? So they're like thumbnail sketches or thumb.
I see.
Yeah, they're too small. You can't really. What you do see is LOL. But what they do see is, you'll see all the, how it goes up on the screen, laughing faces. So
All
it's,
right.
you know what it feels like? You're a deaf comedian. Yeah, it's turned into that. Turned into, okay, well, I can't hear you, but you have to show me by LOL, hearts, laughing, puke face. So you're doing well when you see those. That's the way. So you now are feeling like you're deaf.
Yeah. Okay. At least we understood like deaf people better now.
Oh, that's a good joke. I'm gonna write that down. We understand deaf people now.
All right. So like the challenges of doing comedy online, huh?
Challenges. It's so weird, but it could be the new norm. If this is the new norm, then humans adapt to everything. So we have to adapt. There could be a time where people will tell their grandkids, "Did you know that there used to be comedy live?" And they'll be like, "What do you mean?" Like, you used to go to a place where all these people are at, and they're like, "Ugh." So maybe people's kids hear about that and going, "Oh man, that's so unsanitary," like, who knows?
Yeah. But when this is all over, I mean, do you think you will still also spend some time doing comedy online? Because like it takes a lot of time to travel to other places and planning, and also maybe people from other parts of the world don't get to see like a certain comedian probably in their whole life. So do you think there will be like a thing going on the side apart from the regular physical comedy thing after
I
everything?
I I, I think so. Like, honestly, I
Mhm,
think that some people are going to enjoy this more than others. I think
mhm,
some people will be like, you know what, today I'm going to stay home and watch a live comedy show.
mhm,
I think there's a need for it right now, because when my friend started to do his show online, there was over 200 people that went on, because where else are you going to get it?
mhm.
live is watching TV. It's not live. That's a
Yeah.
pre-taped program. This is
Mm-hmm.
still something people want to see because the element of anything going wrong is very exciting.
Yeah.
People like to see the risk factor, which is why live is very important. Because it's like watching Evil Knievel, the stunt, anybody doing what do you call those people? They do you know daredevils when they go in a motorcycle and they jump over 10 cars.
Yeah. The stuntman.
The stuntman.
Yeah.
People watch that because something could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's something about live people want to see because they like to see the professionalism in somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see something.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They want to see someone doing stand-up because they like, oh, you know, you could see somebody. There's a lot of faces that are judging you when you're not famous. Is this person going to make me laugh? Is this person funny? Does this person think they're funny? They have an attitude sometimes. And then when you show, they'll listen to like, oh, that was pretty funny. Oh, that was very funny. Oh my God, this person's really good. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they want to see the live. It's like watching anything like sports live.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going to happen. It could go horribly wrong, but you do want to
Mm-hmm.
see somebody triumph, and you do want
Mm-hmm.
to see someone fail. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so people go to live shows to see triumph, and to see failure because
Mm-hmm.
people get off on both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because as far as I know, a lot of people have stopped watching TV already.
Yeah, I mean, TV is turned into the radio. You know how you're
Mm-hmm.
driving and you turn on the radio,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go to
Mm-hmm.
different stations. That's
Mm-hmm.
the audio. That's the visual version of it now.
Yeah.
You're
So.
just flipping around TV to see what catches your eye, but you're not really there to sit and watch a show that's on TV. You sit and
Mm-hmm.
watch a Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus. You're watching Amazon on your specific time on your watch. You know, nobody wants to go watch a show at a certain time anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They want to choose what their time is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but TV is like background music now for the eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. What about your online audience demographics? Are they the same as your usual audience, or is there any change at the moment?
Yeah, there's always changes. You know, when I was doing comedy before the pandemic, I was doing cruises for people that were over 65. I was doing, 30 different countries, 30 different cultures. I was doing clean shows with children. So
Uh-huh.
I don't care what audience I have. It's a black,
Mm-hmm.
white, Asian audience. I know how to play it because
Mm-hmm.
I've done it so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care if my audience. In fact, the only time your audiences don't change is when you're famous.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more of a question for a famous person. You know, it's like if you're famous, yeah. How does it feel like doing comedy for people that you don't normally see? They would probably be not used to that. I'm used to
Mm-hmm.
different audiences all the time. In fact, I'd be
Mm-hmm.
shocked if I saw one demographics that was there all the time. You
Okay.
know, that if that happened, I would know I was getting famous.
Mm-hmm. So how long do you think you have to do online comedy? How much longer?
How much longer? I think this is going to be at least 2 years, and by that time, it could be a full-time thing. I honestly don't believe people are going to go out and watch live comedy
Mm-hmm.
in the next year. You know, not in this country. I don't think people would. You know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe other, but I don't think people would. But I'm planning to put my own show together that have different comedians and artists on there, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, how I make money for the time being or until I die, because right now this is the only way to make money
Mm-hmm.
online.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So like you've done this for a long time, and then like because of your personal experience and probably because you're just a very, very like a resilient person, like you took it pretty well,
Yeah.
seems. Mm-hmm.
Oh, the pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, and like I said, I'm a natural survivor. My dad was, and I'm I'm used to change, and I'm ready for change, and I and I don't mind being
Mm-hmm.
challenged by change. So whatever life throws at me, I'll deal with. I really am that way. I'm like, oh, I mean, this sucks, but I mean, I guess that we have to figure it out now. I think the older we get, the more mature we get, which is true. And if you don't, you'll be a crackhead. Uh, I honestly think that every year that you get older, you're closer to death, and your body is not as nice as it used to be, and you're not as good looking, but you're so much more mature and accepting of everything. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, do you spend more time writing jokes? Because,
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
more time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now there's more time. So I do a weekly show on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, me and four other comedians, I do this show, and it's called The Minority Report. And every week we have 5 subjects we have to talk about, write jokes about. One is uh, uh, a TV show or movie. Another
Mm-hmm.
one is something in the news. Like it would be for this one, we have to talk about uh, people protesting against the government and wanting to go to work again. And
Mm-hmm.
then another one we do is a meme show, a meme segment where you show us a picture and we all have to write a meme about it, right? Another one we do is a question and answer with the audience. Ask us all a question, we'll answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ending would be talk about how you feel about the pandemic and what you've learned and what is something new for you that you found about yourself because of this, the good and the bad, So we all are trying to speak to the audience that wants to hear some kind of answers and how they feel too, because people don't go to comedy clubs for the comedy. People go
Mm-hmm.
to see and to hear an answer from something, and it comes out through laughter when you hear it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I want to go laugh. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I know laugh is the result of what's going to happen, but it really
Mm-hmm.
is mirroring their lives in front of them and making them laugh when you caught them and
Mm-hmm.
go, see, we're all the same. And you're like, wow, that was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
People are
Mm-hmm.
looking for answers. People are looking for a leader. People are looking for someone to talk about a problem they've had where it's either they got divorced, they have sexual problems, they
Mm-hmm.
have, you know, they hate politics, they hate certain things, they hate Trump. They want someone to speak with them.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out as laughter, but subconsciously they're not there for laughter. Subconsciously they're there to get healed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, do you see like more people, looking for comedy or laughter to get through this tough time? Or do you see people like, oh, this is not time for humor?
I think it's more time for humor because, you know, I
Uh-huh.
I keep quoting Newton. Now Newton's quote is, "For every action, there's a equal and opposite reaction."
Mm-hmm.
So what's the action right now? It's a pandemic. It's all sadness. It's all depression. What is the reaction to that that's opposite but equal?
Mm-hmm.
Happiness, laughter. They need it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And how, I mean, like now basically your audience, where are they from? I mean, like how do you promote? Because like people from, since it's online, so like supposedly anyone who has internet can watch you, right?
Yeah, well, it depends what show I do. Some shows I'll do is a pure Asian show. Some shows I'll
Mm-hmm.
do is a black show. Some shows I'll do is a regular show that has every type of people there. It's all up to the promoter. The promoter has to pay for ads, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like say you use Zoom and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, May the 15th, I want to put a show together. How do I do that? Well, you have to advertise it. How do I advertise it? You have to pay for it. How do I pay for it? Go on Facebook or IG
Mm-hmm.
and start buying ads.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you send it to a lot of people that will come to the show. Or you already have a promoter that has a big database and an email. You ask them, can you help me market the show? I'll give you a percent if you could bring, if people want to buy tickets off your web, off you. So there's many ways to do it. I personally are just getting paid to do the comedy, so I'm not really in charge of anything but doing my own jokes.
Mm-hmm.
uh I'm venturing into putting my own shows together, and that's when I will start learning about promoting my own shows. But right now, the
Mm-hmm.
promoter's doing it and not me.
Mm-hmm. I see. Because like you have toured, I mean, like you've been in Asia a lot and a lot of other countries. Like people like me who have watched you probably don't know what you're doing at the moment. All right. So like so like the personal, on personal level, I mean, like how do you reach out to a more like a larger, like a bigger audience and stuff like that?
Okay, well, here's an example.
Mm,
I get called usually to
mm,
play comedy clubs across the US, and then also 3 months a year I get called to do
mm,
comedy in 30 different countries. Each
mm-hmm,
country, each show is promoted by their marketer.
mm-hmm. I
I
see.
don't know. I don't know what they're doing. They're just saying, "Hey, Ron, come here. We'll pay for your ticket, and we'll give you a hotel,
Mm-hmm,
and we'll pay you this." Okay, good.
mm-hmm,
Oh, can you
mm-hmm,
also post where you are just so you can help us in the social media aspect? Yeah, for sure. But really, I'm
mm-hmm,
not doing anything. I'm just maybe 2, 3 extra people who'll see it. Their
mm-hmm,
job is to get people at the show, and that's not my job.
mm-hmm. I
My
see.
job is to perform for 12 people or 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
my job, right? Unless
Mm-hmm.
I was paid to promote a show,
Mm-hmm.
then that's a separate income. That's a separate job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
that's how it
now
works.
you're mhm. Now you're thinking of doing your own
Yeah.
thing. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So like because you've done this for a while and then you transitioned pretty well. And do you have any advice for those, aspiring comedians or comedians who just started?
That's a tricky one because if we weren't in a pandemic, I would tell them this.
Mm,
Uh, go up at least 7 times a week, whether you do 7 shows in one day or you do one show a
mm,
day or you do 2 shows one day and 3 shows the next day. Do it 7 times a week because there's somebody in another country, another city that's doing it 7 times a day.
mhm.
And if you want to compete in any level, you got
Yeah.
to do it a lot. You have to master repetition is to master an art of what you do. If you can't master repetition, you can't do this. It's a monotonous job. It's it's soul destroying. It's a
Yeah.
nightmare before it's a dream, and sometimes it's never a dream. It's only a nightmare. So
Mhm.
if you want to try this, um, your heart better be into it, because if it's not, you're not going to do it for long. If you don't love it and you're not obsessed with it, chances are it's not for you.
Mm,
Uh, but here's some advice, anyways. Because you can't go out and do stand up, you're going to have to do the open mic circuit online. There's an open mic circuit, right, called it's called the Four Walls Comedy.
mm,
There's
mm,
different versions of this, but you go online and there's 10 comedians that do 5 minutes each, and you could
mm,
see them all, you could hear them all, but there's no real audience, and you
mm,
practice your jokes. That's the only way you can really do it right now. Hopefully, you know, we can still go back on and doing live stand up, but the art of live stand up is going to be different from the art of doing what this is. This is something new. but you still got to do it. You still got to do it. Like I would say, if you're starting comedy now at the pandemic, you just got to do it at least 2-3 times a week, at least.
Mm.
Yeah, but doing it over and over and over again is the key to anything. And making it fun, you have to talk about things that you like and you hate, and what things that bother you. You'd be surprised that people laugh when you talk about things that they hate. Also, you'll be surprised that people laugh when you talk about something that was sad that you got over. Comedy doesn't really come from comedy. Comedy comes from pain. It's it's a reaction. That's a negative, or it's a positive reaction to a negative action. So it's always that. Comedy can't come from comedy. Comedy comes from a pain. So talk about things that bother you more than things that made you laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Because what bothers
that's
all of us makes us laugh.
mm-hmm.
When I complain, you ever complain with your friends? You ever gossip with your friends? How fun is that shit?
Certainly, yeah. This gives hope to those people who are having miserable lives.
Oh yeah, well,
We all
most
are
comics
having.
the reason why comics are amazing because they're miserable people. Their comics are very miserable people, and that's what they're using to give the opposite but equal reaction.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, what's the first thing you would like to do when it's all over?
I'm gonna get the hottest hooker. No, I'm joking. I'm gonna.
Good one.
Honestly, I'm gonna walk around Melrose Avenue, get my hair cut, go to my favorite barbecue restaurant there, and go by the beach and walk around, and then go on stage and do a show. I think that would be a perfect day.
All right, great. Okay. Is there anything you like to add to, or any like a particular thought you have during this period of time about anything?
You know, I always say this: if I had a shirt to sell the pandemic, it would just say the word "calm" on it, right? Because we're all on edge right now. You know, tiny little thing will make you snap right now, because the pressure we're feeling, locked up and not being able to do what we want to do, you know, and not be able to speak and hang out with people that you want to hang out with. A lot of us are alone and by ourselves. So to counter that, keep talking to people. You know, talk to 2 people a day. You know, and walk around outside. Take a good walk. You know, be away from people, but walk, and just feel life's energy, because that's all you got right now.
Yeah.
Or
Good.
or you can drink disinfectant.
All right. It's been great. Okay. Thank you so much, Ron, for joining us. And yeah, okay, we're really thrilled. I was surprised you would say yes.
Oh man, of course I would.
All right. Thank you. And take care. Looking forward to seeing you live soon.
For sure. Me too. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.